Oh baby, this is it. Another one of these videos that I'm making particularly because I want to piss some people off, but also because this was a legit thing that they talked about on TSN, and I saw it the other day. I was like, okay, that is outrageous. We have to go out there and talk about it. Again, I'm coming at you here with the predisposition throughout time, because I'm pre-recording this video to be released later in the weekend, hopefully on Sunday maybe, because I am going on a trip. I have to say that every video just in case y'all get pissed off at me for the numbers being a little bit off. But today we are talking about the Edmonton Oilers and what assets they might need to go out there and trade away in order to facilitate a Jack Campbell trade. Now, Campbell has been a hot topic in Edmonton for a while now. He has been a bad goaltender. He has been an expensive goaltender. I will give him the benefit of the doubt, though, because in the AHL, he actually got his first shutout the other night, which was very good to see. In fact, seeing Campbell get the shutout for Bakersfield and then later on seeing Stuart Skinner shutting out the Washington Capitals, it's almost like things are falling back into place, or at least how they should be. You probably wouldn't have wanted Campbell to be in the AHL in the first place, but he's there. He showed off very poorly to start out his AHL stint, but now he's doing okay, based off of the one game we had seen at least. Now, for the Oilers, this is a team that has slowly started to string together some wins. Of course, we had talked about Stuart Skinner getting the shutout. Who would have thunk it? If your goalies actually show up to play and they start stopping some pucks, you actually have a decent chance to win some hockey games. It's almost like the coach wasn't the problem. You ever thought about that? Okay, all snarky comments aside, Jack Campbell is making $5 million a year till the end of 2027. Very big contract for a guy who is playing in the AHL, and for somebody that was playing so poorly in the AHL too, it's interesting to try to evaluate what his value would be on the market. At the moment of me recording this audio, Campbell has the same save percentage in the AHL that he has in the NHL, 8.73. Now, his goals against in the NHL significantly higher at a 4.5, versus the 3.26 he's allowed in the AHL. Of course, the shutout helps his numbers in that respect. But if you needed to facilitate a trade with a goalie, if you needed to get this guy off of your team, you wanted to free up the cap space, you wanted to use that money elsewhere, what exactly is the price you have to attach to Campbell to get that trade done? Well, to help us out, we're going over onto a segment from TSN Overdrive last week, talking about some comments made by Brian Hayes as to what he feels the Campbell sweetener needs to be. The link will be in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to the audio yourself. It's all in a video on the TSN website, but the title of the video itself goes over the main idea. Hayes says, you might have to throw in Leon Draisaitl as a sweetener to shed Jack Campbell's contract. Now, if you listen to the audio, it's not like actually saying, oh yeah, they need to do this, they need to toss in Draisaitl to make any sort of a Campbell trade work. It's all contextualized within the conversation they're having. Essentially, you've got Noodles who tosses out the idea of the Oilers going for John Gibson in the Anaheim Ducks system, and Brian Hayes replies saying, hey, what's the sweetener there? Gibson for Campbell? You might have to attach a guy like Draisaitl for crying out loud. Then they kind of share a laugh about it, and O-Dog actually says afterwards, hey, you might actually need to put a guy like Draisaitl if you are trading a player like Jack Campbell away to a team that may have some playoff aspirations in the short-term future. Now, that idea, of course, is one of many that is talked about. They talk about Mackenzie Blackwood, they talk about a few other guys that are tossed in there. But the idea of John Gibson in exchange for Jack Campbell and or Leon Draisaitl is kind of bananas. Because, of course, this type of a move would be coming at the desperation of the Edmonton Oilers. This would be them trying to just completely throw crap at the wall and see what sticks. Ken Holland maybe trying to save his job, maybe pulls out one more desperado type of move and ends up either making it work with a goaltender like John Gibson behind McDavid and Nurse and Nugent-Hopkins and Kane and Hyman and everybody else, players who have been slowly improving, by the way. I don't know about Nurse, but McDavid's been getting assists lately. Hyman, Kane, getting goals as well. Or is this a total disaster of a move where you trade away a guy like Draisaitl, you lose out on one of the top players in the NHL on your team, John Gibson comes over and plays behind a bad Edmonton defense and he gets lit up because no goaltender is stopping and making up for what it is that these Oilers defenders are mistaking, and then Draisaitl goes to Anaheim, helps that team out, Lucas Dostal takes over the starting role with the Ducks. He's good, and Anaheim is looking better than ever. Who knows? Maybe they bury that Jack Campbell contract in the minors, or they buy him out. They are able to get that done because they have a little bit more cap savings compared to the Edmonton Oilers. It was interesting because last offseason, everybody was talking about, hey, they have so much cap space, the Anaheim Ducks do. Why are they not signing their guys as quickly as they can? Why is this Draisaitl, Drysdale, yeah, why is this Drysdale-Zegras thing taking so long? And really it's because the Anaheim Ducks were pinching for every penny they could get. They ended up signing those two, but at a very later time. So when it comes to the idea of taking on a contract like Campbell, they actually do have the opportunity to do so. They've got $7 million in cap space right now. If you wanted to help out the Oilers, though, and send over that John Gibson, then hey, maybe there is a really big sweetener that is in the caliber of, let's say, some untouchable player like Leon Draisaitl. Obviously, I'm just saying that to piss people off. I don't really think that Leon Draisaitl is going to get traded, but if there was some sort of a conversation regarding John Gibson and Jack Campbell, I mean, at the very least, you have to think about it. We know how much the Anaheim Ducks hate wasting money, and Jack Campbell, right now, is a big waste of money. Who cares if he got a shutout in the AHL? That guy's got to be an NHL goaltender right now, or else he's not worth a single cent of that $5 million per season. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you are an Edmonton Oilers fan, what is your immediate instinctual reaction upon hearing that Leon Draisaitl, of all people, might need to be the sweetener to facilitate some sort of a Campbell deal? To rationalize things a little bit, in this TSN Overdrive clip, you do have Noodles pretty much saying that no, the sweetener has to be like a first. It's a first-round pick at a prospect. It's not going to be like, you know, Draisaitl. And the argument that he says is actually, hey, like, players with bad cap hits get traded all the time. Even David Carlsson got traded. And of course, there was an argument to combat that, talking about the specifics of what happened there, but going back to this Edmonton-Anaheim thing, is John Gibson the guy? We've seen his name linked around to the Oilers for a little bit, especially throughout the summer when reports were coming out saying that he would be maybe a little bit frustrated in sticking around with the Ducks, but because Anaheim is doing pretty alright this year, I think it's totally okay, the idea of John Gibson sticking around with the Ducks a little bit longer. But if you still wanted to push it, then hey, what are your thoughts about the idea of him getting traded over to the Oilers in some sort of a Campbell-Draisaitl trade? If you're a Ducks fan, would you give up on John Gibson and believe in Lukas Dostal in the short-term future right away if it meant you're getting a guy like Draisaitl on top of that? I think that's a pretty easy trade to make if you're attacking it from the perspective of the Anaheim Ducks. It really just depends on how you evaluate the contract of Jack Campbell. But this is a trade idea that I thought was interesting enough to talk about. It's why I'm making a video about it here. I still am on my trip, so maybe a lot of the numbers that we talked about in this video aren't really all that accurate. Actually, let's go over to Draisaitl. We didn't look at this yet. That was my mistake, but Draisaitl this season has 26 points in 19 games played, 8 goals, 18 assists. He has slowly started to get back up there in terms of point production. Connor McDavid with the 4 assists the other night against the Washington Capitals. Hyman, Kane, Bouchard starting to score points too. Everybody's whipping on Evan Bouchard. It's pretty funny, not gonna lie, even though he is a point-per-game defenseman. But would you be interested in sacrificing your top point scorer for a chance at John Gibson? Upgrading from Campbell to Gibson, having that Gibson-Skinner tandem. If you assume Skinner ends up becoming a shade of his former self and ends up sustaining a general level of success, then is this the type of move that puts you over the edge and back into playoff contention territory? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, the article, or not the article, but the video, the TSN Overdrive segment, is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to what the crew talks about in regards to this idea. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Draisaitl, Gibson, Jack Campbell, Edmonton, Anaheim. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.